How's it going, everybody? This is Tyler from Stapled Media, and welcome to another park review. Today, we're going to be talking about the legendary Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio. This is a park that every roller coaster enthusiast knows about and wants to get to at some point in their life. Enthusiasts will travel from around the world to come to this park to ride some of the legendary coasters here like Millennium Force, Steel Vengeance, and others. Cedar Point has really made a name for themselves as the roller coaster capital of the world, and they really mean it. They have the lineup to back it up. They have some of the greatest roller coasters ever. But just because they have the best roller coasters ever doesn't mean that it is a perfect park. It is a wonderful park, but it definitely has its flaws. So today we're going to be going over everything from location, transportation to the park, what's the entry like, what are the major rides, shows, entertainment, just everything you can expect when visiting Cedar Point. If you like content like this, be sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Also consider becoming a channel member to unlock a whole bunch of cool perks, and check out our Stapled Media merchandise as well. You can find that just down below the video here. Everything I just mentioned goes a super long way in supporting me and the channel. Without further ado, let's get into my review of Cedar Point. Like I mentioned before, Cedar Point is located in Sandusky, Ohio, so pretty much the middle of absolute nowhere. It's about an hour from Cleveland and an hour and a half from Toledo, and those are your two major cities near Cedar Point. Personally, I prefer to fly into Cleveland, and then I'll make the trek from Cleveland to Sandusky. Public transportation isn't really an option here. Of course, you could take buses, but that takes a really long time. You can definitely Uber from Cleveland to Sandusky, but since Sandusky is such a small town, there really isn't that much when it comes to Ubering back. So I have had a lot of people go to Cedar Point, Uber from Cleveland to the park, and then get stranded and not be able to make it back. Of course, the best thing you can do is rent a car, but I do know that there are a lot of younger enthusiasts who aren't quite able to rent a car just yet. What I have done both times I've been to Cedar Point is actually found a local taxi service. There are quite a few that vary in quality, but both of the ones that I have used have actually been really good. The one that I used was called AM/PM Taxi Service. They're located in Sandusky, and they do trips from Cleveland to the park and back. Do note that they are a little bit pricey, so if you're going to be there for a while, then renting a car is definitely the way to go. Once you arrive at Cedar Point, there are two main hotels that you can stay at. There is the Cedar Point legendary Hotel Breakers, which is definitely on the expensive side, but the greatest perk about this hotel is that it is on site. You actually have an entrance right behind Magnum XL 200 that is just a minute walk away from the main hotel lobby. And then there is the Cedar Point Express Hotel, which is on the other side of the causeway off the peninsula. And that's definitely a lot cheaper, but you do have to have transportation to get from that hotel to Cedar Point. You can't actually walk or bike on the causeway. You have to drive a car across that thing, so it makes it extremely difficult to get to the park. There are, of course, other hotels around Sandusky, but they're all relatively overpriced. I do recommend, if you're staying in Sandusky, not at Hotel Breakers, just stay at the Express Hotel. I've stayed at both Express and Hotel Breakers, and the quality is about equal between both of them. Just with Express, you're not staying on site. There are other hotels around Cedar Point as well, also owned and operated by Cedar Point, such as Castaway Bay, but they are a little bit of a distance away from the park. Now let's talk about the park entry experience. Once you've parked and you make it through security, you will be greeted with Cedar Point's legendary front entrance. This has Gatekeeper going through the keyholes right over it. Everybody knows it. It's a great photo op, and that'll take you onto the park's main midway. The park is split up basically into two halves. You have the front half, which consists of the main midway that also branches out towards the boardwalk section, which is home to Gatekeeper and Wild Mouse, and then there's a little subsection home to Val Raven and Blue Streak. Then once you reach the back of the park, it forks off into two directions. You can either go to the left or to the right. If you go to the left, that'll take you towards Siren's Curse, Millennium Force, and Frontier Town. If you go to the right, that'll take you to the Top Thrill 2 midway, towards Magnum and Gemini. be prepared to walk a lot here. This park is absolutely gigantic, and honestly, one of the biggest criticisms I have with Cedar Point is the lack of shade. It gets very, very hot here and very, very humid here, and there is a severe lack of shade. But I'll talk more about that a little bit later. Like I mentioned before, Cedar Point is home to some of the greatest roller coasters in the world. You have Steel Vengeance, Siren's Curse, Top Thrill 2, Millennium Force, Magnum XL 200, Maverick. Just some incredible roller coasters. There really isn't anything bad in Cedar Point's lineup. There are a couple of rides that I would consider a little bit more forgettable, such as Cedar Creek Mine Ride, but you know, all of the roller coasters here do serve their purpose. Cedar Point is also home to quite a few flat rides around the park. You have you have 3 kids areas, which seems a little excessive. You have Kitty Kingdom, Planet Snoopy, and Camp Snoopy. The nicest of the 3 is definitely Camp Snoopy, although it doesn't compare to the Camp Snoopy at Knott's. That one's actually like really nice. But there is a good amount for kids and families to do. If there's anything in the park that I think that there needs to be more of is water rides. They actually just removed one of their water rides recently, being Snake River Falls, and now all they really have is their Rapids ride, which isn't really even a great Rapids ride. I think that the next ride Cedar Point should invest in is a good log flume, maybe something like Catapult Falls, or a water coaster if they really want to go the roller coaster route. Let's talk about shows and entertainment. Now, around Cedar Point, you're going to notice there really aren't a whole lot of shows or entertainment. But at the end of the day, that's not really something that you go to this park for. You'll find a couple of little small entertainment bits around Frontier Town. Every now and then a high school will be doing some stuff with their marching band over near Siren's Curse, but that's really it. There's really not a whole lot of stuff to do here as far as shows and entertainment. The food at Cedar Point is surprisingly good for theme park food. I enjoyed pretty much everything that I had here. My 2 favorite restaurants to go are the Grand Pavilion at the Boardwalk area. They have this funnel cake fried shrimp, which is just unbelievably good. And then there was also the Farmhouse, which is located over by Maverick. They have this like Maverick steak with steak sauce that's just absolutely incredible. And the sides are really unique too. If you have the all-season dining plan for all of the Six Flags and Cedar Fair parks, that does work here. And honestly, it's a really good deal. If you don't, I do recommend that you get the all-day dining. It averages between $40 and $50, and you can eat a meal every 90 minutes. That is definitely the way to go, in my opinion. Don't pass up Happy Fryer either. This is a little corn dog place located across from Gemini. I personally didn't get anything here, but the Stapled Media co-host Jake said it was the best food he had the entire trip. And those corn dog bites looked really good and really fresh, so definitely try that out. Now let's talk about some of the biggest flaws of Cedar Point. Now, Cedar Point, being located in Ohio where it does have winter seasons, is a seasonal park. And it's also one of the most popular and well-known parks in the entire country, let alone the entire world. So the crowds here are really big. Even if you have Fastlane Plus, which I do recommend, be prepared to wait up to 45 minutes for some of the major roller coasters here. I think that's something Cedar Point could improve on greatly is actually the mix points, where they have the Fastlane Plus and the regular lines merge. For example, at Millennium Force, once you merge, you still have a good 15 to 20 minutes to wait, which is honestly not ideal, especially if you're paying up to $150 to $200 for Fastlane Plus. Steel Vengeance merge point is honestly just an absolute joke. It takes a good 30 minutes minimum from the merge point to get to the station, and being one of the most popular rides, I feel like it should take you right up to the station. Other rides don't really have this issue at all, like Gatekeeper will get you right to the bottom of the stairs, same with Magnum. Top Thrill 2 will bring you directly to the station, which is absolutely awesome. But even though it still does that, be prepared to wait because everybody else also probably has Fastlane Plus. Like I mentioned before, there is a severe lack of shade, and this park gets extremely hot and humid. Our first day at Cedar Point this year was absolutely miserable. It was high 90s with insane humidity, and there's just absolutely no shade, and this carries over into most of the queue lines as well. Top Thrill 2 actually added a little bit of cover over parts of their queue line, but there are long stretches that have absolutely no cover at all, and so you're absolutely cooking in the sun out there, and it is absolutely diabolical. Be prepared for things to get very, very warm and hot at Cedar Point. They definitely need more shade, and some misters in those queue lines would go a very long way. Another issue I have found with this park in particular are the bathrooms are absolutely disgusting. I did not encounter one clean bathroom on my last trip to Cedar Point. Now, some of the bathrooms are notoriously bad, like the bathrooms over near Raptor and the bathrooms over near Magnum, although the ones by Magnum did get a refresh a little while ago. They're still not very well kept. And the park is relatively well kept. The pathways are swept, the trash cans are taken out, but those bathrooms need some love. If you go during certain times of the year, specifically in the early summer, you may be going during mayfly season, where the park is just overridden with mayflies. Because Cedar Point sits on Lake Erie, it does attract lots of insects, specifically mayflies. I personally didn't really find this to be that big of an issue. You just sort of shrug them off and pretend they're not there, but I could definitely see how this could be a deal breaker for a lot of people visiting the park. Avoid Millennium Force in the front at night during mayfly season. You are going to get absolutely pelted with bugs, especially going through those tunnels, and it honestly hurts. It feels like you're getting hit by little needles the entire ride. Maybe I'm just a baby, I don't know. I know some people really enjoy it, but not me. That's not something I quite enjoy. In conclusion, I do believe Cedar Point is an absolutely fantastic park that does need a little bit of love to make it perfect. Give it more shade, fix those merge points, and put a dang shield over the park so no mayflies can get it. Now, I know that really can't be controlled. That's just Mother Nature, but I wish they weren't there personally. If you get around to visiting Cedar Point, or you get the option to visit the park, I highly recommend you go at least one time in your life. These roller coasters are absolutely fantastic, and it definitely is worth the trip out to the park. If you've already been to Cedar Point, let me know in the comments what your favorite thing or least favorite thing about the park is, and if you haven't been, let me know what you're looking forward to. This is Tyler from Stapled Media signing off.